Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of Emongg Explains. Sorry for taking a while for the next episode. I've been in the middle of moving from Vegas to Austin, so it's been a little bit of a journey to say the least. I haven't had internet, I haven't had any of my stuff yet, so it took me a while to get everything kind of in a spot where I could record and give you guys a new episode. So I apologize for it taking so long. Thank you guys again for all the positive feedback from the last video. I was super surprised to see how positive you guys took the video, or how positively you guys took the video, and I'm really excited to be able to give you guys another one, and hopefully we can keep doing another series with this. This time around, also, I want to point out that not only can you ask the questions on my Discord, but you can ask the questions in the YouTube comments, and the most liked ones, obviously, I'll try to look into to see if they're a question I want to add to the video or add it to another video in the future. The idea is to have about 3 of these a month, is my guess. I want to do one weekly, but then I'm kind of afraid that maybe questions might get repetitive, or I just won't be able to give you the best content. So I'm aiming for, I'd say, around 3 episodes a month. And then I'm going to be adding the VOD review series, which I'm going to do once a week. And then I have one more series I have in my mind, which I'm going to talk to a few people about and see if I want to do it. But I think that'll be really cool. I'm going to add a lot of stuff to the YouTube channel beyond just the games. And the games have been popping too, guys. Thank you so much. I can't believe how much the YouTube's grown in the past few weeks. It's kind of unreal, to say the least. I never thought I would be able to get the YouTube to where it's at now, and now I just want to keep going with it. It's pretty awesome. So once again, glad to finally get the video recorded. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully we got some good questions for you guys, and hopefully you guys have more questions going forward, because it's been really fun. And when I'm able to talk to you guys in this type of setting, it's like really cool. I'm used to being live all the time, which once again, come check it out if you haven't. And yeah, so let's start with question 1, and we'll go from there. So the first question we have is, what is the best main tank to get good at if it isn't your primary role? Now this answer is going to be one of those forehead answers I talked about last time, but in my opinion, one of the best things you can do is learn how to play whatever the meta main tank is. Now, people are going to go, well, hey, I'm in silver and there is no meta. That's true, but obviously when you're in ranks like silver, gold, probably plat, I can't comment on diamond or above, coming from somebody who did the unranked to Hammond GM series. I did see that at diamond I could still kind of get away with playing Wrecking Ball no matter what they were playing. So if you were to go, let's say for example, the meta is Orisa Hog, right? You get a lot of Orisa Hog. If you're able to climb from silver all the way up until, let's just say you have a great season up to Masters, right? Like out of nowhere, you become this amazing Orisa player. You've now managed to climb your account through the lower ranks, get mechanically better, which at those ranks, that's really what matters, because I know that a lot of the time you won't get that synergy level at the lower ranks. A lot of people are going to try to play heroes they just are comfortable with or whatever they want, so you're not going to be able to play the meta. But one thing I can really say is that if you learn how to play those meta heroes as you climb up, you're going to be meta ready, which means that you're learning how to play the strongest heroes currently, and when you get to the higher ranks, now you're also not only ready for the mechanical part of it, but you're also ready for the teamwork part of it. So one of the reasons people call me a one-trick on multiple heroes, is kind of a running joke we have, is because at times, right, it's been like, Emongg's a one-trick diva, Emongg's a one-trick Roadhog, one-trick Zarya, etc. And a lot of that is because whenever the meta had those heroes be viable, I played those heroes. I didn't just like say like, hey, I only play diva and that's it. I learned how to play those other heroes, and it allowed me to kind of develop a new hero pool and be good throughout each meta. So if you learn how to play whatever's a very strong hero at the time, then that's really good. It doesn't mean, you can't like learn like a pocket Winston within that, but if Orisa's meta, learn Orisa. Just learn the hero that is strong at the higher levels, and you will climb through the lower levels just by pure mechanical skill. And then you won't be stuck again when you get to that level and you're like, crap, I one-tricked Winston to get here, but now I just cannot play Winston anymore. But this time around, you're going to be able to play those heroes like that are meta heavy, and then you probably will climb easier, because believe it or not, especially when it comes to main tanks are really hard to find at higher levels. So if you're able to climb, or at least flex into a main tank sufficiently, I could see yourself climbing really high. Never look at it as like what main tank, it's more about like what meta main tank, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, why you might want to learn something like Reinhardt and be good at like what people will say shield tank. You always get the people going, can we just get a shield tank? They never want a certain tank, they just want a shield tank. Although for some reason, if you go Winston, they'll get mad at you for not going to shield tank, even though technically the bubble is a shield, but that's a different story. So yeah, you can go, you can try to learn Reinhardt and climb up there, but when you get to Masters, you're going to be in for a rude awakening when like a lot of the comps are Orisa Hog right now. As of now, July 2019, Orisa Hog is like a really heavy meta, right? You can run Reinhardt Zarya, but you're finding more Hog play or Diva play, and Orisa just synergizes so much better than like a Reinhardt. So you can learn Reinhardt from, silver to diamond or masters, then you're in for a rude awakening when you could have spent all that time learning the meta hero. So my advice is try not to look too much into like one specific tank that you just want to play because you love it. Like, hey, I just want to play Winston. if you really truly want to try to win games throughout each rank, I would recommend going for whatever is meta. You can find that information probably sometimes in my YouTube videos. You can watch Twitch, things like that. And I think you'll get a better understanding of what you should play. As of right now, say just July 2019, this current patch, obviously things are going to be changing soon in Overwatch. As of right now, learn Orisa. Reinhardt's a good pocket pick, I think, and being able to play like Wrecking Ball and Winston can be fun too. But I think if you can play Orisa and get through like the style of play Orisa requires, you're going to find yourself being in a much better spot, especially with a lot of the hero pools people have in the lower ranks. Because you can actually be a little bit effective on Orisa, because you can add a little bit of CC with the pull, and you can also kind of just shoot things, which is kind of fun. Unlike Reinhardt, where you kind of stand on your shield and rely on your teammates to kind of make plays. So that's what I would say for that. This next question we have was, I was kind of a 3,300 flex player, both support and tanks. They now hover kind of around 2,400 to 2,600, and they're kind of wondering how are they able to get back to where they were, or at least climb past that rank. It's kind of a good question now, especially with the new tools we have in place. One of the big things I can say is that with the new replay system, which if you guys haven't seen yet, you just go to your profile, and under there will be a section that says replay. So your past 10 games is actually saved to Overwatch now. We can watch everything. So a lot of the reasons why people struggle, in my opinion, with trying to climb and trying to become a better player is understanding what they're doing wrong and realizing that not everything is because your teammates are just bad. A lot of the time, there's things that you can do mechanically, especially at this rank. For example, 2,400 is still, I don't want to say low, because I know some people get mad with that, but it's still very low by Overwatch standards, right? So at that point, it's more about mechanical gameplay that's going to make you better. But at the same time, your decision making on top of mechanical gameplay can make you even better than you are then, right? So sometimes it could be your aim just isn't good. So with the replay system, you can go watch yourself. You can become the viewer, and you can look at yourself and go, wow, I like what I'm seeing. You can go, wow, man, I can't hit the broadside of a barn, right? And I think that will help you a ton. Now, how do you figure out what you're doing wrong? I mean, there's a lot of different things. Let's say you're a Tracer player. I know that Tracer isn't meta. So for example, you could be using 3 blinks to get to everybody, and then you just lose the fight because you're using all your cooldowns at once. So you can watch that from their point of view and be like, wow, if I was playing against myself on Tracer, that'd be the easiest kills I can possibly get. So it comes to self-improvement. Now let's say that you play 15 games a day. For a lot of people, that's a ton, but some people will play that many games. Would you rather play 10 games where you can take what you've learned and improve, or just play 15 games where you go, what the hell am I doing wrong? So let's pretend that you minimize 5 games a day for now. And you take those 5 games, so let's average it out about 15 minutes a game. So let's say you have about an hour and a half of just being able to look at your own gameplay. Like, you have the time to look at that, right? Now you can take those 10 games you have and apply something more, you can apply something to your gameplay more than just hitting the Q button, right? You now go, okay, my blinks are bad. Okay, I'm on Brigitte and I'm falling asleep at my keyboard. You know, you notice these things and you're able to get better at those heroes, right? I think a lot of people really struggle with understanding what they're doing wrong, but with the new replay system, imagine being able to watch, imagine you go to a Twitch stream and you watch somebody who isn't that good or struggles a lot, you can see that, right? If I'm having a bad day playing Roadhog, you guys will be in the chat going, 0% hook accuracy, lol, 0-7, hands up. Like, you guys literally will, you know, see that I'm not playing that well, and you can see that from your point of view. I may not be able to see it as much, but when I look back at my VOD, I can be like, wow, you're right, I was missing those shots, I was missing this, I can do better. And I think for you guys, if you can start to look at those replays, you can really, really improve. Now, obviously, that's where the VOD review comes into play. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a VOD review series soon. I'm going to start strictly with off tanks because I'm not the best at some of the other heroes, but I've started to develop a little bit more knowledge that I wanted. Like, I have really good game knowledge, so technically I can still do VOD reviews across the board. The problem is that it's gonna be very hard to get everybody done. I'm not gonna be able to do all the VOD reviews, but maybe some of the VOD reviews I do of people, you can learn on that specific role or get a little bit better. So I would say definitely with improvement, start to watch your replay, start to understand what you're doing wrong, and understand that here's the real truth. We all think our teammates are the reasons why we're losing, but at the same time, we may be a big part of the problem. And I think once you start to realize that, you'll start to realize that you can individually get better. And truthfully, and some of you may not want to hear this, you can carry yourself out mechanically from the lower ranks, especially if you figure out the right sensitivity, you know, have better, you know, movement and things like that. And I know that can kind of suck to hear because some people are like, well, my aim sucks. You can all get better at your aim. A lot of us just kind of put ourselves in this situation where we don't really look at what our settings are, and we kind of put ourselves at a disadvantage. Every game I've ever played, I always start off really bad and I struggle in those games. and you go, what do you mean you struggle? You're a GM. I'm not known for being the best player at the beginning of the game, but I'm known to become a better player as time goes on because I put time and effort into realizing, okay, my sensitivity is too low, my sensitivity is too high, my movement isn't that good. And once I figure that out, I become a much better player. So hopefully you can learn from that and start to figure out all these little things about your gameplay and improve, right? If you want to win, you just got to put in a little bit of extra time. You know, this game is designed to be a 50-50 game. How do you take that 50-50 and make it 55-45? If you do that, you'll climb. Next thing you know, you'll be a much better player. What is your opinion on one tricking and why is it good/bad? It's a really good question. I think one tricking can be a very heavily talked about subject in Overwatch, where some people believe you should never one trick because the game is designed around hero switching, and especially if you play a hero that isn't really meta or isn't really helpful to the team. And then there's the other side of it where it's like, well, if I have a one trick who's meta and is able to play that, for example, if you're an Orisa one trick right now, it's like, holy heck, like, yes, thank God I have an Orisa one trick on my team because now I'm able to play kind of a meta-based comp and things are going to work out, right? Especially at the GM level where that happens. The problem that I find with one tricking is that it doesn't allow for your team to really flourish. One thing people forget is that Overwatch is a team-based game. Now, if you're a one trick watching right now, it doesn't mean that I hate that. It doesn't mean that I'm against that. I'm one of those players that's always been willing to work with a one trick and kind of enable them to at least help the team, because I know that, for example, if I have a 4200 Torb on my team and he only plays Torb, I have a feeling his McCree's not going to be as good, right? So I unfortunately have to kind of, well, fortunately and unfortunately have to kind of work with him in the best way possible. I'm not one to like, crap talk them or talk down to them or anything like that when they're doing their one trick. Obviously it isn't ideal. So, my opinion on one tricking can be a little bit 50-50. I would prefer if, there was a little bit more flexibility from players. It doesn't mean that you have to switch off your one trick, right? If you play Torb only and you're going to go to McCree or you're going to go, play Mercy and just kind of screw around until the game's over to get back to Torb. I don't want that, right? At the same time, unfortunately right now, without the game having a role queue or structure, sometimes those players can take up a kind of a weird slot in the game. So, for example, if role queue was to come out with 2-2-2 and you were able to, have Torb as the DPS and then like a McCree DPS, but you knew that you're going to have 2 tanks and 2 supports, well then okay, I kind of get the idea that you still might be able to one trick at that level. The problem is that right now, if you're a Torb one trick and you have 2 other players who don't want to play support, then you run into this weird spot where not only do you not have a comp that can even make any sense, you have this weird problem where not only will it cause problems with team comp, a lot of players can get kind of toxic towards the other player, right? And what I mean by that is like the 2 DPS players who in their own right might or should have some flexibility, don't, and then they're sitting there the whole time talking about, oh my God, I can't believe I have a Torb, I can't believe I have a Torb, get off Torb, what are you doing on Torb, get off Torb, rather than spending time trying to figure out ways to win the game, right? So my problem with one tricking, I'm in a weird spot where I'm like 50-50 on it, but the problem I see is that it can add a lot of toxicity to the community because a lot of people play to win, right? And when people play to kind of just play the hero, it can get this weird spot. Now, I think that with the 2-2-2, it will probably fix that a little bit because even if you do have a Torb, it's not going to be as bad as if your comp's completely broken, where like if I'm playing GM and we need goats, right? We have to have 3-3 and we have a Torb and the other team is running goats. A lot of the time it's almost over. Especially on maps where like, Temple of Anubis attack and things like that, right? So when it comes to one tricking, I would prefer if people had a little bit more flexibility, but I still do my best to work with the players if they are one tricking. And I know if you're a one trick, a lot of people can be toxic towards you. At the very least, just do your best to offer some suggestions that can help enable you or try to be the best teammate you can be, which some people argue, well, you're not really being a good teammate if you're not willing to switch, which I also get. But the best thing you can do is just be the best player you can be. And if people get really bad, you can just leave. Unfortunately, you can just leave voice chat. I also do want to point out at the GM level, I have found that a lot of one tricks have started to flex a lot more because they started to realize that when it came to the team play side of things, it was really hard to make the team comps work. Now, for example, I know players who would prefer to play Mercy on Dorado or something like that because Mercy can have strength on Dorado. While it may not be meta-based, Mercy makes sense on second point Dorado because of the high grounds and being able to go back and forth, right? So I find that a lot of one tricks now have become kind of, they will try to go to their comfort hero, but are willing to switch on maps where they don't think it's going to work as well. For example, Mercy on King's Row, right? Isn't as ideal as Ana on King's Row because of the way the map is designed and things like that, right? So sometimes you might see a player who will only play Mercy switch to Ana on that map because they know that it will help the team, but they know that they have their strong picks on certain maps where they want to play those type of heroes, right? So a player who might play Torb now, or was a Torb one trick, may play Torb on 85% of the maps, but also realizes on maps where it isn't ideal, for example, Temple of Anubis attack, switch to something a little bit more, you know, helpful, maybe like a Diva, something that they can kind of play and not have to be the best at, but can still be helpful to the team because defense matrix is so strong. So sometimes when it comes to one trick, and you can still kind of one trick and main a hero, but you can have a little bit of like a pocket pick to help your teammates in other situations. So that's another thing I want to say about one tricking, to where I think that you can still be helpful to your team and play your hero the majority of the time, but in the end, it's a team game, right? We all want to work together to win, right? I don't play rank to lose, even though it looks like it sometimes on stream. I'm a very competitive person who hates losing, but a lot of people find my competitive side to be pretty toxic. How do I develop a non-toxic personality or just not be toxic in general? It's a pretty good question. I think a lot of toxicity comes from many different things, whether it's hero selection, people also being toxic back, things like that. You know, you don't have to be a perfect angel in this game. You know, a lot of people call me Mr. PMA, right? The real truth is I just kind of use a lot of humor, sarcasm, and kind of choose my words wisely with things in game. And I think once you start to realize that if you kind of just word things better, or you word things in a way that doesn't come across as toxic, people are willing to work with you. For example, rather than saying, my DPS are doing nothing, my Hanzo sucks, Hanzo, what are you doing? Rather than doing something like that, you can be like, hey Hanzo, what can I do to help enable you? And this sounds really weird because you're honestly enabling somebody who may be struggling, but sometimes people have off games and they need confidence, right? Sometimes they need a little bit of an extra heal, a little bit of an extra damage boost, a Zarya bubble, and they're not willing to speak out. Some people don't have that personality type where they're just like, hey, can you come here and can you pocket me? Can you bubble me? Can you enable me? But when you ask them questions, they feel welcomed and they want to be able to help win, right? So maybe you're a DPS player. Maybe you go, hey, Zen, I see that you're dying. What can I do to help? Maybe your Zen's getting targeted like crazy. They're not really the most talkative people and they don't really know how to kind of let you guys know. But when you ask them a question, they feel more welcomed and they start to become more comfortable in their team setting, right? The problem is when you're toxic to people, you start to play with those same people every game or you see them occasionally. And those players either do two things. They get on your team and they're pretty much scared. They're just scared. They don't know what to do when you're on the team because you're constantly toxic. And while you want to win, if you're not promoting a good team environment, which don't get me wrong, some team environments can be toxic, but it really depends on each person, right? Every individual takes toxicity differently, right? So I always kind of go on the side of things where it's like, well, I can kind of word things correctly and try to make people work together as a team rather than being like, yo, you just suck, right? So for example, if your Zen's getting targeted and dove by Winston all the time, but isn't telling you that, if you can get that information out of them by just asking a simple question or paying attention to them in general, rather than being like, Zen, you suck, why are you dying, and switch to Brig, you can at least start to figure out, okay, I can now take what a situation where I was going to be toxic, use my words better, and then figure out a solution rather than just complain the whole time. The problem as players is we all think we're the best in the world. And someone's going to go, no, I don't think I'm the best. My teammates just suck. What if you're one of those teammates? What if the other person is in the same boat as you thinking you're the person who sucks, right? It's a team game. You need to learn how to play together as a team. And if you develop a team mindset, then you're going to be fine. I know players who are not the nicest people in game. I know players who are not the nicest players in rank, but when I play with them on a professional team, they're nuts at what they do and they're good teammates. Why? Because they don't treat their teammates like they're trash. So if they adopted that same mindset in rank, they'd have a much better time. The problem is we all have this expectations where we expect every player to play every role perfectly. I talked about this in my last video with the 2-2-2 role queue, where I wanted more structure to the game because a lot of the time, that Zenyatta player you might be trashing on is actually a McCree main, and he's doing his best on Zenyatta, and he's uncomfortable in his role. So what you can do is enable that player to get better rather than sit there the whole time telling him how trash he is and trying to give him a better opportunity to be good. That's the biggest problem I see with a lot of people in general. And I think developing a mindset, not necessarily where you can be angry, you can have emotion, but if you just kind of can rail it in a little bit and sit there and just kind of work with that teammate a little better. Now, if that teammate reacts negatively and is like, yo, you suck, you're trash, let me go on DPS, well, that's him. That's on him, right? But at least you try to give yourself a better opportunity to win the game, right? Remember that. A lot of people seem to forget that when you act like a dick to somebody and you act terrible towards somebody, sometimes their reaction isn't going to be like, oh, you're right, my bad. The reaction is going to be two things. When they're on your team, they play worse and they play scared, or they go on the other team and they destroy you. And then you know what you do? You go, when they were on the other team, why are they hitting shots now? But on my team, they weren't doing anything. Because honestly, you probably scared them, and they literally got to the other team now, and all they want to do is destroy you and get better. I'm one of those players that when you trash talk me, oh boy, I just play so much better. You want to know why? Because there was no reason to trash talk me to begin with. Remember that. So just try to focus a little bit more on using your words correctly. You can still have emotion. You can still be angry. Hell, if you're really angry and you want to say something and you're mad, guess what? You can turn your mic off for a second, say something to yourself, and just keep going on. Stuff happens, man. We all have that, you know? Just remember that. So I think that it's possible to adopt the way you play the game a little bit when it comes to your toxicity levels and the way you speak and the way you do things. But listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Overwatch is frustrated. There's going to be times where we all get angry in game and stuff like that, but you can definitely minimize on what you do. Remember, fighting fire with fire isn't the best thing to do in Overwatch. Just work with your team. That's simple. Time for the last question. Really good question too, I would say. How do you feel about free-to-play in Overwatch? And if they come out with an Overwatch 2 or an expansion, are you afraid that it will split their user base? Well, good questions there. I'll start with Overwatch 2 to begin with, because I think that question is a little bit easier to answer. I have a feeling that Overwatch 2 probably will be just a kind of an expansion with more PvE stuff. All the leaks seem to be saying that. I really can't confirm or deny any of that. But so far, it seems like it's not going to be a game that's meant to split the community. It's meant to be a game that gives you kind of more of a PvE feel to the game rather than kind of the PvP, so they can kind of focus on both with different teams is my assumption. We don't even know if it's going to be called Overwatch 2. There's actually been a couple like rumors that it's not even going to be Overwatch 2. It's just within Overwatch. So I really have no idea what's going to happen with any of that. But it definitely is going to be cool to see what happens. I do think it will add some excitement to Overwatch in general. Now we're going to head over to the free-to-play part of Overwatch. This is something that I do think will actually be really good for the game. Now, people are going to... First thing people always say is, what about cheaters? What about cheaters? What about cheaters? I know. And I know that it will increase that. First of all, I imagine they'll have a system in place where they can add a phone activation thing, kind of they do with the SMS now. For anybody who's unaware, at top 500 level, as of right now, to be top 500, you need to have a phone number linked to your account. I know that you can go and activate, Google numbers and stuff like that. Here's the real truth. If somebody's cheating at a video game, there's a good chance they're going to do just about every workaround to cheat anyway, right? So there's nothing you're going to be able to do about that. They've been adding better anti-cheat systems in place. And with the rumored 222 and all that, the game definitely has a bright future with the way rank's looking, right? So why do I like free to play? I think Overwatch is an amazing game. I think it's a game that when people have to buy it, obviously not as many people are going to have access to the game. A lot of people like free-to-play games. Free-to-play has kind of become the future. There's a monetization style that allows for companies to make a ton of money still, also while providing a really good game. We've seen things like that with Fortnite. I would say Apex, but Apex has been a little bit different. But I think free-to-play is starting to become a really big thing. So obviously they're going to need to increase the anti-cheat and stuff like that. But what it does is it brings more players to the game, and more players will have the availability to play a game like Overwatch and really truly see how awesome the game is. I really do hope that if they do go free-to-play, they have the 222 role queue in place, because I do think that this game in its current state and ranked is not that good. I know people don't want to hear that, but ranked currently is just not in a good state. It's very repetitive. It doesn't feel like the seasons matter. And hopefully if they do add like a role queue or a 222 to it, and I talked about it in the previous video, I do think that it will add a little bit more structure to the game, and I think that the experience when these new players come into the game, because it's free to play, will be a little bit better. It won't be perfect, because obviously if they do a 222, it'll have to be like an MMR reset and stuff like that. It's going to be the wild west for a month or two, but I think once things settle down, it'll be really good for Overwatch. I know that, like I said, a lot of people are afraid of things like Smurfs and stuff like that, but I think if they do add a separate MMR, like I've talked about, I think that will also help when it comes to the free-to-play stuff, because people don't need to go and make Smurf accounts, because they can sit there and have 3 different SRs per role, right? Obviously, you once again can't prevent Smurfs either now. You can't prevent Smurfs anyway nowadays, because people are going to, if they want to Smurf, they're going to Smurf, right? But I do think the population will help for the game. And I also do think that if they do go free to play, you probably won't see the loot box system as much anymore, because one, I know loot boxes are starting to be considered gambling, if I'm correct, in certain countries. And on top of that, it's also proven that the Fortnite style has been working really well, where you can just kind of buy the skins in game. And I think that with Overwatch, they could also increase the art team, maybe. Just things I don't really know about, but imagine if they would add more skins in the game, more availability, and things like that. It'd be really cool for Overwatch. And I think that having really good skins in games can actually increase the population too, because people just love cosmetics, and having like a beautiful looking character, especially in Overwatch, is really cool. I know a lot of people love all of that stuff, and I think if they add that to the game too and remove kind of the loot box system, which they probably will do, I'm assuming they're going to. I mean, you got to remember, companies are about making money. I think they might go down that route too. So yeah, Am I against free-to-play? No. I do think free-to-play obviously would be good for the game. Obviously, I'm a little bit selfish in being a content creator. The more people that come to Overwatch, the more likely I'm going to have more people coming by and stuff like that. And obviously, that can be a little bit selfish in that sense. But truthfully, I do think it'll be awesome. And I think that with them going free-to-play, if they do go free-to-play, which is obviously another rumor, these are all rumors that we've kind of heard. If it goes free-to-play, I do think that means that they're going to put a lot of effort into the game and making sure this game has longevity to it, because I don't think they're going to make a game go free to play and just ditch it, because they really truly realize how much value is in free to play. And that's kind of Blizzard just kind of starting to get with like they're starting to understand how the gaming industry works, which is why we've seen things like vanilla, classic WoW coming back and stuff like that, because they understand that there's things that they can do better. And I think free to play Overwatch probably will provide that. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. Obviously, I have a feeling BlizzCon will be a big thing for Overwatch in general. I think BlizzCon last year wasn't that good, and I think Blizzard realizes that. So I think that a lot of these rumored stuff do sound like something that probably will happen, because Blizzard needs to come back with a bang next year. Otherwise, people might start to get a little bit of might start to be a little bit more aggravated with everything. So yeah, I'm excited if they do come out with a PvE Overwatch, and I'm excited if they come out with free-to-play version of the game and a little bit of updated rank system and all that. I think the game needs it, and hopefully they start to give us more information, because Blizzard has this tendency where they don't want to tell us anything. They don't want to piss anybody off, but in reality, it pisses everybody off. So hopefully we get some more news on any of that stuff soon. But yeah, that's how I feel about Overwatch, 2 and free-to-play and all that stuff, and hopefully we see more stuff coming soon, because this game needs it. Overwatch is such a great game, and people don't realize it. It's just rank that makes us. One thing that I tell people all the time on my stream is that we don't hate Overwatch. We hate the rank system. And yeah, there's some annoying heroes like Brig and Brig and Brig and Brig and stuff like that. But in May. But I do think that overall the game I think the game is going to start to have a resurgence really soon. And hopefully I'm right. I know people are like, no, you're just saying that because you're just, you're a streamer and I guess YouTuber now and Overwatch and you want it. Nah, man, I think the game's beautiful. I think it's a great game. If I don't like a game, I just don't play it anymore. But I truly do love Overwatch. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for watching another video of, I guess we call it Emongg Explains, episode 2. It was been really awesome to record it. Hopefully we had a little bit of, some of you guys had some, complaints about things that we did with it. And hopefully this time around it's a lot better. I try my best to keep this going. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my stream. Whenever you guys do, thank you guys for all the people who watch my YouTube videos. Obviously, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button. On top of that, if you do have a question, remember, once again, I will start taking YouTube comments too, and do a count when I do this series. If not, please join my Discord. We'll put the Discord link below. Join the Discord, look for the Emongg Explains channel, and ask your question in there. I'll try to get to as many questions as I possibly can. If they are a repeat question, there's not much I can do about that, but I'll do my best to answer your guys' questions. And thank you so much for everything, guys. I love you guys. And hopefully you guys can come back for the next one. So have a wonderful day, wonderful night, wherever you're from. And thank you guys so much for being awesome.